I'd like to welcome everyone to the second Wednesday meeting of Gainesville End of Life Doulas. Um, the topic today is What's My Legacy? Oh, yeah, and today is May 8th, 2024. So, Community Connections with Gainesville End of Life Doulas happens every second Wednesday from 3 to 4 o'clock on Zoom. And we are co-sponsored by Elder Care of Alachua County, the Senior Recreation Center in Gainesville, Florida. So the topic is, what's my legacy? And I kind of jumped ahead here, but a legacy project is a manifestation or an expression of what your legacy is. So we're just going to share some ideas about it. It's a way to express what's important in your life, what's been interesting to you. I share this picture of gladiolus because, gladiolus is very special to a friend of mine named Danesh, or Jerry Pfeiffer. In the old days, he's my friend who died with AIDS in 1989, and he used to love to plant gladiolus and share them with people. And whenever I see a gladiolus, I think of him. He was a very fun guy who played piano and loved to laugh and connect people together. And so to me, his legacy was music and flowers. So perhaps you grew some flowers and you cut them and shared them with people. That can be your legacy. Loving beauty and sharing with a generous heart. Legacy can also be struggles, it's not always great. Sometimes just to be honest about things that were tough for you could actually help someone else. And so legacy can be done as a celebration. It can be done as a certain kind of actual work of art. There are various forms, and it can be whatever you want it to be. So remember, you don't have to be rich, famous, or even smart to have a legacy. This picture of the sailboat reminds me so much of my dad. He just loved sailing. And even when he got old and rather clumsy, he was trying to help people when they were docking their boat. And I was like, Dad, you're going to fall in the water. But definitely sailing and the enjoyment of the open water was something. So really, like I said, legacy can just be just about anything. And in fact, this is a photo of my dad with some of his great grandchildren. He's a World War II vet, and he was a Yankees fan, loved his family. So, just certain qualities about you. Being a Yankees fan and wearing that hat, it's just things that you enjoyed in life. Maybe you like to write love letters in the sand. Maybe you have some photos that kind of show that, or and the writing letters in the sand is kind of cool because the tide comes in and it washes them away, so it kind of reminds me of how everything's temporary, nothing's really here to stay in life. Maybe it's sharing the love of music. My mom played music with her church, and she still tried, even as she was having her dementia, she still tried and enjoyed playing the piano. Maybe doing things with your hands and how expressive those hands are. You can see the weathering and how much time and touch has gone in through those hands. And then, again, I'm just sharing my family pictures here, but my mom, she had advanced Alzheimer's, but she just loved her life. So uh, just a list here of some of the ideas that legacy projects can take. Forms like a memory book or box. You can make a scroll or write letters. I've heard of someone who wrote, she was dying with cancer and she had children who were still under 20 years old. And so she'd write a letter for each of their special events for several years. She would write a birthday card and a graduation card and a congratulations for their wedding. She just wrote love letters to her people. You can do audio or video recordings, artwork, poems, songs, crafts. handmade gifts, greeting cards, recipes, and then in the content of it, would be story and themes that kind of repeated themselves across your life, your values, your beliefs, your ethics, your life lessons, what your strengths are, what your struggles were, have been, or are. We like to use humor and honesty, and sometimes when you're really real, it really does inspire and make people feel good. So, in some even write their own obituary, and that's a kind of a cathartic practice to do, just or a eulogy. And I just want to share another thing that one of my programs is transforming grief through the arts. And this is a child who has experienced great loss in his very young life. And so he was doing a painting, and he, expressed kind of like, well, half black and half looking startled and confused. And, and I looked at it, and a family member of mine, and I said, wow, I love how you share this with me and how you express yourself. So without having the judgment of whether it's a pretty picture or not, just gratitude that we can express ourselves and share. And this is my friend, Gail Bluebird, who lives in Jacksonville, and she's one of the old mental health liberation leaders from way back in the 70s. She has a program called Transforming Lives with the Arts, and I just wanted to share her name with you because she's been very active throughout her life on helping people using art. And let's see, we got somebody coming in. And then so I just want to share, I was trained with INELDA in 2018, International End of Life Doula Association. Then I was trained with Megan Devine in 2023, the grief training, and she's the one who wrote this book, It's Okay That You're Not Okay. And that's my little logo that I made. We provide grief support and education to grievers in person and online. And that's my my card. So I always am happy to hear from people, and just so glad you're with us today. So I'm going to stop share. And there's Jean. Talk about old friends. Hi. Good to see you. Yeah. So we just had a little slideshow about legacy, and the upshot of it is that legacy can be anything. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to have a story. It's our little pleasures in life and who we are to people, even more than what we actually accomplished or did. It's more about who we are and what our joys and pleasures are in life, what our lessons are, and such. Now, I just want to say we are recording this meeting. If you don't want to be recorded and you want to speak, just let me know, and I'll put it on pause. So if it's okay, we'll just keep the recording on just in case there's some conversation that people would like to be able to hear later. So, for those who are here, what do you think? Rebecca, do you have any thoughts about your legacy and what your legacy might be?
Wow, that is can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know. Actually, the only thing that came up right now was food. I love to cook for people. So I think part of my legacy will be the enjoyment of creating food and sharing with people. That is something that is important to me. I also enjoy the arts. So I think those are the two things that come to mind at this moment. It's a very important question, and I don't know I know how to answer it at this time.
It's okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, and I meant to mention there's so many things, but one thing is grandma's recipes, like those would be lost unless we share them. Whether you have children or grandchildren or not, still with your friends and whoever, your recipes, your special foods, and Some might want to make an actual recipe book or just have it on a file or
Wow.
just a loose leaf notebook or anything. But if those are important to you, and then I have a friend who did a recipe book, and she tells little family stories about what's connected to this meal and what went down around serving this meal, and her relatives and different stories. So it's a nice way to weave story in with the recipes and the food
Yeah.
pictures of the foods. Yeah. So that's cool. And then what was, the second thing you said? I'm sorry, you said food and
Oh, I forgot also. Oh my God, I'm
you.
sorry.
Yeah, well, it's called seniors.
Oh, wow.
Right. I know, right? I know. It's okay.
I
It's all
went
right. We're
blank.
just
I'm sorry. It was food and something else that I
well, me
enjoyed.
too, and that's so we're in the same boat. No problem.
It will come to me. It will come to me.
Sure. Yeah. Is there anybody else who'd like to just give a little input or share what's legacy to you, or how would you like to look at this idea? And what do you enjoy in life? What's meaningful to you? I think I have a list of leading questions too. Let me see. Actually, uh, um, I'm going to get out of my PowerPoint and see where that is. All right. Well, I do have a document that I'm looking at here on my computer. And it's not exactly about legacy, but it kind of is. Okay. So it's called an ethical will. Has anyone ever heard the term ethical will?
No.
So we know what our will is. It's our money and our land and our property and our stuff and how we want that to go, right? If we have any, if we're fortunate enough to have that. And then we have the living will, right? And that is one of the advanced directives that says what we want to happen if we're not able to make decisions. For example, if we're in a coma, or if we're in a real strong situation where we can't decide. And that's between us and our doctor. But the ethical will is where you think about your values and your life lessons and your experiences, your philosophy, yeah, and somewhat about your legacy and what your intention is to express that. And so I have a worksheet about the ethical will. So it's your ethics. It's like what you live, rules to live by, how we treat people. Um, uh, and in the little worksheet that I have, we talk about what's your favorite place, and it could be a memory from childhood, your favorite artist, your favorite movie or book, sports teams or sports hobbies, authors, sayings, words of wisdom, so it's that side of life. We spend a lot of time thinking about our things we have to do. But what about our values? Like what's truly important in our hearts? So one of the questions there, for example, and we are all in the older age bracket, but what is the most important thing that you learned from your parents? Just thinking what they taught us and what we carry on of the ethical lessons that they taught us. And even if we didn't have the best parents, they might have had some moments where they taught us something of value that's positive. Some people say, well, I learned not to be like my dad. That's um But interestingly, that same person, when his dad got old and was in his last years of life, he was as sweet as he could be. You know, it was when he had all the pressures and stresses of being responsible for everything and being a parent, being in the military and blah, 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 that he was harder. And so as he got older, he got softer. Um, so just kind of open conversation really here. I guess legacy does involve bringing up memories, you know, thinking about things that we've had or done, enjoyed. Like what kind of music has influenced you, you know? Um, what kind of jobs have you had and work? What's a favorite story? Whether it's Aesop fable or one that your grandma told you. I can share one that my mom um, shared with me as I was growing up, and I think it really affected me. She said, you know, I was quite young at the time, and so she was as well, but she said, you know, this woman came to my door, and I don't know if this was something that really happened with her, it was just a story she was telling me. And she said, she came to the door, and I opened the door, and she said, I'm dying, with a bright smile on her face. And I thought, wow, you know, to put dying and a smile in the same place was amazing to me. So that was my mom's way, I think, of sharing with me that it's good to have an acceptance of death and not to be all freaked out and afraid about death. My father, on the other hand, would say, we do birth in this family, but we don't do death. We don't talk about it. We just we're gonna block it out, you know. So again, my father was one of those people that in the end he became a changed guy and pretty much softened with his story about death. You know, he learned enough about life that he accepted more. So that's just a little thought I had.
Hi, Shanti. It's really good to see you.
Hi,
Um,
Jean.
I think my dad was elderly and ill when I was a child, but because he was 50 when I was born, and but I think the gift that he gave me, the lesson that he taught me, was to respect everyone because he was kind of a higher up in a company, and he treated everyone really well, to the janitors, the factory workers, everybody was equal to him. And he always said things like, it is really an honor to receive an award or to have the blue key or to have a class ring. And it's much more, it's much classier to leave them in your desk. Don't flaunt them. Don't carry,
Right.
don't wear the pin. Don't
Yeah.
wear the ring. Don't put yourself above anyone. And that has really stood me very, very well throughout my life. I feel that was an amazing treasure that he passed on.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I've heard people say do something, some random act of kindness and don't tell anyone. Yeah, that's really, and so you've carried that through your life. That's something you've remembered as you're going through.
It's something that carried me through my teaching career, where I felt that the custodians and the lunchroom staff and the assistants were every bit as important as the administrators. And in fact, the school would fall apart without them.
Right. Right.
So, I think I learned it from my dad, and I think that it is maybe an unusual characteristic now, because now I see that people are very eager to toot their own horns and even exaggerate their
Mhm.
values. So I just think it's kind of an interesting memory that I have of him.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. I like that.
Oh, different situation. Got to adjust the lighting. Hi, Jean.
You know each other.
Hi, Liz.
Small
What
town.
what an odd uh, coincidence that we would both be here.
Definitely. What it was like Forest, right?
I only
Yeah.
substituted there, but my teaching really was at Williams and Duval and what was at the time J.J. Finley.
Okay, so it was Williams, I think, that we actually talked together.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Oh,
So that was
a while ago.
like I was there 95 to 98 in that range.
Okay, that sounds about right. Yeah, I was teaching ESOL, the
Exactly. Right.
English to those adorable little kids that would yell at me in Arabic, and
Yeah.
so it was fun. It was a wonderful experience.
I happened to see Claudia Singerman the other night. She was
No.
dancing with, as she says, her fella at One Love Cafe.
Oh, that's so sweet. That
Yeah.
is so sweet. Fond memories.
We go back a
Yeah.
little. I really like what you said about, your dad's thoughts for you, because
Mhm.
that's pretty special, I would say.
Well,
But
thanks.
can I flip the coin a little bit here?
Of
Yeah,
course.
sure.
Because I think it's something else to think about in terms of legacy. I am now, and I asked for this, but I'm also kind of, this is a cautionary sense. Many years ago, my grandmother asked me what I wanted, what was the legacy that I wanted from her. And I remember not wanting to think about it. I was probably in my late teens, early 20s, because I didn't want to think about her dead. So, I didn't want to think about what I was going to take, because that was kind of an acceptance of the fact that I was going to lose her, which I didn't want to do. But anyway, I said I would like her china. Well, her china consisted of something that she bought on credit when she was, my uncle, the youngest of the three kids, he remembers the china being delivered in a big wooden barrel when he was about 6 years old, and the barrel was taller than he was. But my grandmother had gone to one of the department stores in downtown Buffalo with a friend of hers, and she just absolutely fell in love with this particular set of china. And Adeline said, well, dear, you can buy it, just put it on credit. Well, my grandparents immigrated from England and Wales, and my grandfather especially was very proud of being able to pay his own way. So credit was non-existent in his vocabulary. And when she made this purchase, and it was 12 place settings of everything, and also, all the serving dishes and all of it. Anyway, it was delivered. It was a bone of contention, and he would not have her take it back, because that was a hurtful thing to his pride, to have to admit that he couldn't pay for it outright. So it was a bone of contention their entire marriage, I'm quite sure. They both lived into their late 80s and did very nicely, but my grandmother also had Alzheimer's, and so they ended up going into an assisted living facility later in life. And when it was time to clean out their home, I was like, well, I told Grandma I would have the china, so now the china needs to come to me. Well, that china got put in, not very well packed at all, but just shoved into 2 cardboard boxes. And the one cardboard box was all of the regular tableware that you would use, plates, cups, bowls, so on. And then the other box was the serving dishes. They ended up going back to my parents' house. And then from there, they got moved to another house. And of course, I was gone and grown and teaching on my own and didn't have any place to keep any of this stuff. So it actually took, and let me think now, probably 30 years after they died. I think it was actually when we moved here, which was 1990, that I got both boxes together in the same place at the same time so that I could actually physically use the china, which was great. And I think I used it exactly once for an Easter dinner. And it was wonderful. And then I had a couple of tea parties where I would use the teacups and the teapot and all that sort of stuff. But the bottom line is this: I think we need to be careful, A, for what we ask for, because I did ask for this and it has really been nothing but an albatross. But also think about what we give to someone else that may become something that's of a burden to them as opposed to a joyful legacy. Because right now, and I checked into trying to sell it and nobody wants that stuff anymore. I mean, young brides are not into the China pattern and all that kind of stuff. So right now I am in the process of liquidating it, a cup and saucer here and a cup and saucer there to my grand nieces and grand nephews, because I chose not to have children of my own. So it's not like I can say, here, dear, this was your great grandmother's. So yeah, and I guess that was a very long way around the barn story just to say, I think we need to be mindful of what legacies we choose to gift to others.
I
Very
think that's really interesting, Liz.
Yeah.
And it just makes me think about how hard it is for me to part with things. And I found my oldest son's teddy bear the other day. And I sent him a picture of it and I said, Daniel, do you want this? And he was like, are you out of your mind?
Hell no.
Throw that away. And
Oh.
I haven't been able to.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to either burn it or bury it in the backyard or something, but I don't want to put it in the trash. Isn't that silly? It's just a rag. It's just.
Well, if it's any consolation, my Raggedy Ann is going to go with me to Prairie Creek Conservation Cemetery.
You know, I've thought about that. I have a little rabbit named Cruddy because he's cruddy. And I've thought about that.
Yeah.
So I'm not the only one. Good.
Well, yeah, and in my grief classes, I talk about our hoarding, which, I mean, I could show you, let me see if I can show you my I don't know, you can't see it, can you? My pencil collection. Oh well. Pencils and pens. I have about 150 right there. And oh, for God's sake. Why? And so, but a lot of my mom's things ended up with me because my sister and brother were far away, and I was the one who took care of mom. And so my daughter is in mom's house now, so because mom had left it and we arranged for her to be there. And so my daughter already had to go through mom's stuff once, and a lot of it came to my house. And I just am terrified that I'm going to die before I get rid of it so that my daughter has to go through it again. She'd be like, deja vu. I went through this stuff. So it's really like a guilty feeling of like, oh my gosh. And so what is it that makes us, feel like we have to hang on to stuff? It's like I have things that I keep because somebody gave them to me, not because I want them, because somebody gave them to me. So I could give them to someone else. But actually, the best place to give them, I think, is the thrift shop. Because if somebody gets it, they'll get it because they want it and they pay $1 for it. So yeah, it's a very interesting phenomenon. And who knows, there are reasons, I guess, why we do that. But I was recently in Arizona, and as I was leaving, I had some things that wouldn't fit in my suitcase. They're actually things people had given me, and I didn't really want them, but I would have taken them if I'd had room in my suitcase. And the woman that I was staying at her house, I said, "Oh, we have these things," and she just went and put them in the trash. They were new; they'd been bought, but she put them in the trash and she said, our teacher told us to throw things away. Like as a cleansing, thing to just do and let it go. And realize that it's okay. So, but there's a sentimental keeping of things, and we're not gonna, we're not gonna take anything with us when we die. And a lot of these things don't really help us while we're here. I just have stacks and stacks of them. Yesterday morning, I actually went through my under the bathroom sink, and I literally did throw some stuff away. Oh, mineral oil that's probably been there for 8 years, and I don't even use mineral oil, just stuff, dirty old toothbrushes that I thought I might need for cleaning, but I have 7 of them. So, but yeah. Any other
The other-
thoughts? Oh, go ahead.
Well, I just had a funny little story. I have so many books. Can't even begin to tell you. And I have many, many, many children's books, some from when my kids were little, and some because I now have 2 grandchildren. So the other day I sat down with Alice and I said, Alice, we're going to go through these books and we're going to make a stack of the ones that we're going to pass on so other people can read them. And she's going through them one by one and she's going, no, keep this one. No, keep this one. So I'm going to have to, books are very hard for me to give away.
Yeah. I've been collecting more books lately than I ever did in my whole life, way more than I can read. I used to have a daycare in my home, so I had kept my favorite books from that, like The Girl Who Ran with Wild Horses and The Giving Tree and the puppy who wanted a boy, some favorites. And so I loaned The Giving Tree to my great grandsons. I have 2 that are 5 and 8. And then I'm like, who cares? Leave it there. Like, let them have it, just practicing letting things go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, let's see. We got a few more minutes. Rebecca, any thoughts you're having, with this conversation? You've been a little bit quiet.
I'm just taking it all in. It's very interesting. My story is a little bit different when it comes to my parents and their legacy. I didn't have a good relationship with them, so I'm learning right now. I'm going to therapy and trying to learn and forgive them. That is a process I'm going through right now because it was a little bit rough growing up with them. So if anything, I don't want to be like them at all. And although I'm pretty sure that there are good things that I probably learned from them, at this moment, I'm still not seeing them. So I am in that process of clearing all of this and my past and forgiving. And that's why I'm interested in this process, because it's not easy to have these feelings as an adult about your parents. It's time to let go. It's time to forgive. It's time to look at them as humans, because they were parents and they had things to do and they had responsibilities. I also noticed something curious, that when my father passed away, and before he passed away, he was very kind to me, something I was not used to. So what you said, that when they are in that stage, they're different. Instead of keeping that attitude that they had before, that sternness, they are more flexible, they're more loving, they're just letting go as well. So I experienced that from him, but it was so little of it that I am in that search right now to find what exactly did he teach me that I can remember with love, that it was meant for my own good, instead of looking at all the challenging things that happen. So I'm learning from you guys.
Yeah, and I think it's really difficult when there's serious violation, serious abuse as a child, that you can't just go, oh, well, he was grumpy. No, it's way bigger and deeper than that.
Yes.
But what I agree, like, as we go on in years, do we want to carry that anger and resentment to the grave, because if we can hold on to it for so long, but it really is harming us to have those feelings for ourselves. And so I think it's really good that, I think you said that, we're human, we make mistakes, and, um, mm, it just helps to not, like, one thing I do teach is that in grief, we have all these different emotions that come up and they fly in our face, they're just there, and there's nothing wrong with being angry and hurt and when you're in grief, but we don't want to cling to those because over time they will deteriorate our quality of life will be bad. I mean, anger and hatred and resentment, those really eat away at us and they make us unhappy. So if we want to be happy, you're smart. The best thing we can do is to find our way out of that mess.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
in that
So that's
process right now.
very
I'm
smart.
healing.
Good to know. Yeah, that's great. Yep. So, well, this has really been good. And we have, like I say, we're recording this program. So if there's any issues with that being shared with the public, let me know. And when I can edit parts out. I personally, I don't think there's anything too terrible we've said. Just regular human stories that I think many people would be able to relate to, and it might help them to hear it. So, really appreciate it.
I think it was really helpful to me to have Rebecca say that she is getting therapy, because I forget sometimes that I can reach out and get help from experts. I tend to think that I just forget. I forget that there are people out there who have special skills and special training who can help.
Mhm.
So thank you for reminding me.
That's really great. Yeah. I mean, our society, we're a bunch of rugged individualists, we sit in our own little separate homes, in our own, I got this, I can do this, and, white knuckling it through life. But I've been a support group junkie for a long time. I really, groupie, you could say, I really like, connecting with people and receiving support and giving it, and the work that I do as a grief specialist is just what I love about it, being a peer myself, having been in the mental health system myself, is there's no hierarchy. When this is an example of how we share, we're just equals. And so I think if you have mental health training, there's some wonderful skilled counselors. But I also know that they have their boundaries and that they can't really share much about their own story with you because they're here to help you. And in the work that we do as peers, it's mutual support and aid and mutual sharing. We just have to be sure that we have a real strong sense of confidentiality and just emotional honesty and respect for each other, and have a really strong bond of secure relationships. But I do love that I can share as much as I want about my life and my story. And when I do, people are like, oh, really? Oh my gosh. Because when I was in Arizona, I had there was a young 19-year-old person in the community where I was staying who had just died. About 2 weeks after I got there, he died. And I was able to support the family and the girlfriend in my grief work, and it was very powerful. And when I told, it was a situation that was similar to one that I had in my life, and when I expressed to them that I had had that happen in my life, they were like, oh, you're kidding. Like, it made it credible. Like, they wanted to hear more, they wanted to share more, because it wasn't some clinical person saying, oh yes, I hear you, but it was like, yeah, I lost my daughter. It was apparently an accidental overdose, and they were like, wow, so I do like the pureness of the work. And it's that equanimity that we're all the same. There's no difference among
Mhm.
us, really. We're human, and we've all had struggles, we've all made mistakes and had joys, and here we are with the good fortune having this technology and having these people in our lives, and so many who are making the wheels go round in the world that we maybe take for granted. So yeah, so thank you
Thank you for
all.
that. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, it's a real pleasure. So I always like to end our little sessions together with a simple round of something that you received being here together that was of benefit to you. Just anything, any little nugget or something that you'll take with you after our time together. So, anyone like to share something?
Oh, I'm delighted to
Hmm.
see Jean. I haven't seen her so long.
It's been decades.
It has, literally.
It's yes, literally. And it's really delightful. Yes. And one thing that I take from this is something that I'll have to mull over, but I hadn't thought about the difference between a therapy or a therapist and a group where everyone is equal in sharing, and the different flavor of those two encounters. I'm going to think about that. I think it's an important difference.
Yeah, thanks, Jean. Anybody else have a nugget, something they will take with them?
I guess for me, it will be looking at legacy from a different perspective. I've never thought about it. Now, today, I will look at it differently. And there's so many things that can be a legacy. I just have to find out a little bit more about what I really enjoy. So I leave with questions that I have to answer that are important, that will also make my journey better. And that's
Great.
it for me.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you.
And Liz, anything besides running into Jean again? Any thoughts?
Oh, I very much appreciate what both my fellow travelers have just mentioned about the difference between, professional intervention as opposed to a peer intervention. I think that's definitely something to be aware of. And yeah, Rebecca, the whole thing about not being afraid to reach out if you need support, I think that's essential. And it's nice to know that there is support. Thank you, Sean.
Great.
I also never thought about legacy on a personal level. I always thought legacy was for the rich and famous. It never occurred to me that I could have a personal legacy as well. It's an eye opener. I like thinking about that, about what's important to me that I would like my children to know.
Yeah.
Big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, simple stuff. I mean, it could be, picking wildflowers and putting them in a jar. Just as simple as can be, but that says so much about our experience on planet Earth, and
Yeah.
the abundance. Yeah.